On Saturday, November 15th, the Meadowlands will host a huge card of racing with 8 stakes races and 2 $50,000 guaranteed pick fours. You can catch all of the action by checking out our website, and you can get all the free PPs. For the harness side PPs for the entire card are up on the page, and I believe there's going to be a link to live video and this analysis video, full card analysis by me. So lots of winners on there, but we're going to discuss winners of 4 races in the pick 4 that starts in race number 6 at $50,000 guaranteed with 4 grade 1 races on the card. It's pretty cool. This is the first year, Matt, we've had grade 1 racing, a graded system.
Right.
And now we get 4 grade 1 races in a pick 4 sequence.
That's pretty cool. And this is part of the, what do they call it? The Fall Final Four series at the Meadowlands, which also includes the FanDuel final. So, yeah, it's always a fun way to kind of wrap up the season for the most part, the state season. And I guess you could argue that there's some, divisional or season honors, kind of pending here with the way that certain horses wrap up their season. So, yeah, always fun racing and important races.
Absolutely. We're going to jump into it with race number 6 on the card. That's the Goldsmith Made Trot for $462,000. And I just want to note before we start, we're shooting this video before the final driver changes come out and the morning line comes out. So we're listing the listed driver. So this is the driver that was originally listed with the horse. And I created a morning line. So this is our DRF morning line for the race, just so we have some sort of a guide to go by. And I made Nezuko Kamado the morning line favorite, Matt, and coming out of the British Crown where this one was 3rd. Do you agree I made the right morning line favorite?
Maybe not because of the posts, because she's got post 9 and the main, I could say, Sponset trainee who Yannick Giwner is listed on as post 3. But I won't argue with you, at least talent-wise, with these 2 horses. But yeah, it might be a little tougher going for Nezuko Kamado S from post 9, but she's got a big move in her, and she can take air, and she'll be right there.
Once they added the trotting hobbles on her, she's been super. I mean, obviously she didn't win the Breeders' Crown, but it was a little bit of a tougher trip, and maybe that move to the front, did her in 55-1 to the half, pretty quick, 123-1 to 3/4. So maybe that did her in. 2 of the other contenders, All Time Trot and Busy Miss Lissy, are both coming out of the kindergarten final. And we're going to take a look at that video right now. And it was quite the battle. We're catching up right here. All Time Trot went to the lead and then ended up pulling the pocket on the final turn. And you got Busy Miss Lizzie following that one up and kind of gets her at the end, Matt.
Speaking of Busy Miss Lizzie, Yannick Giwner went a busy trip with All Time Trot, showing speed, able to squeeze out the battle, take control, and then got nailed by her barnmates at the wire. A valiant effort, and I think that's one of her better efforts. Even in a losing effort, it might be one of her best efforts. So I think she's certainly building off that, and she's certainly peaking off that race. And I got to believe it's a perfect spot for her in this oversized field.
I ended up going just 3 and 9 in here, All Time Trot and Nezuko Kamado. One of the horses that kind of interests me a little, and if I knew the trip was going to work out right, I would consider is Atlantic Summer, who, lost the matron last time, but I don't think she's at her best on the lead. I think she's better from off the pace.
Yeah, 40 cents on the dollar in the matron. She did have her own way over the smaller track on the 5/8 track, but another one that needs a trip for what you could say arguably one of the top contenders for driver of the year. Ronnie Wren is listed. He's done some pretty notable things for the Burke barn. Anything for Burke wouldn't surprise me, and he's part of a magical season. So, yeah, I didn't use her, but she does deserve some attention from the mid-pack post. But I did agree with you. I went with 3 and 9 here. Nezuko Kamado, like you mentioned, I think that's probably not her best trip when she had to go a long brush to get to the front, and she had an excuse to tire late. Maybe she can float and be second over in this race, and that can make all the difference. But I do like All Time Trot S as my top choice, but I'm using them both.
Race number 7 is the FanDuel Championship Grade 1, $350,000 on the line for the Open Pacers. And here I went with Irvin Hanover at 4 to 5 on the morning line. Do you think he goes off at 1 to 5 in this race?
1 to 5? No. She's a deserving favorite, obviously, but there's too many other good horses that are going to get some attention here. But yeah, I would say 3 to 5 is fair. Does she have to win this race? Does he have to win this race?
He's a he. If you say she one more time, my head's going to explode.
I corrected myself as soon as I said the she. So yeah, does he have to win this race? That's my question. We saw the Breeders' Crown. We all saw the Breeders' Crown.
Wait, let me stop you right there. Why don't we watch the Breeders' Crown? Irvin Hanover and 6 other horses in this field come out of this race, and Irvin Hanover just absolutely blew the doors off of everyone with a 1:46.2 Canadian record mile, Matt.
Yeah, and there's poor Coach's Corner, who's just can't get over the hump and get that win, but always puts in a valiant effort. He did a great job to hold second here after pretty much being collared for second by Ken Hanover, who's also in this race here. Yeah, it's unless you think Irvin Hanover is going to bounce at some point. My only maybe negative has he ever run particularly well at the Meadowlands? Because I don't know if he's ever won a race at the Meadowlands, or at least in recent year and a half, he hasn't performed all that well. Do you think that makes a difference, or you just think he's just a completely different horse than he was earlier in the year, and obviously as a younger horse?
Well, one of the things that the trainer, Dave Maneri, has said about this horse is just a much better horse during the winter months. And the Meadowlands has most of their stakes races here during the warmer months. So I think that maybe plays a role. I don't recall if he was in the TVG or not last year when the TVG was here. But as we're talking, I'm looking back and I don't see him in that race. So, it really just comes down to circumstance more than anything else, I think, as far as his performance over the track. I mean, so you think a horse can beat this horse? I'm just singling him, and I think he's just, if he comes with anything close to what he's shown, winning his last 5 races, I just don't see where anyone's fast enough to beat him. But you're thinking someone can. Looking at some of the other horses in the field, is it Maximus Mickey, let's say, who I made second choice on the morning line off a win in the Potomac? He was good in the Breeders' Crown, just too far back.
Yeah, he was. We talked about the Potomac a couple weeks ago, and yeah, great job by Scott Zeron to be able to get off the gate and then dig in for that win over Coach's Corner, another narrow defeat, although he finished third. I think the best point getters drew for point leaders, I should say, drew for the inside 6 spots. So, we have some notable names on the outside, but hard to get involved, not necessarily, except for maybe Ruthless Hanover. Can always fire off the gate. I am not using Irvin Hanover only because this pick 4 sequence seems so chalky in other races that I think if there's a chance to actually, ruin a lot of tickets out there and get a ton of value in the pick 4 with capable horses, I'm going to take a stab that maybe someone could sit a pocket trip to Irvin Hanover once he probably makes like that brush to the lead. And maybe Irvin Hanover's not on his toes necessarily tonight. And in a quarter mile sprint, let's say coming home, yes, I know he drew away in that quarter mile sprint of the Breeders' Crown, but maybe somebody with a smoother, easier trip without having to brush, just make one move to the front and yield. So I'm looking at Coach's Corner, who's always forwardly placed, and Ken Hanover, who we know can leave the gate. And I think Ken Hanover is in a better spot to get a better trip tonight. I can see him in the pocket behind Irvin Hanover after leaving the gate. And maybe the circumstances are different. We've seen this horse race great out of a pocket in the past. And you know what? I'm just going for value with capable horses, not just necessarily, the horse of the moment.
Okay, I think that makes sense. And of the two, I like Ken Hanover better. I do think that this race could potentially set up for a better trip for him. He went first over in the Breeders' Crown and really just had no chance. The horse I'm using underneath, I'm singling Irvin in my pick 4, but I'm going to use Captain Albano underneath in my exactas here. I think this horse, clearly wasn't right in the Breeders' Crown. He's much better when he's forwardly placed. I think we'll see that here, on Saturday. And I think he's got a chance to, be the third or fourth exacta on the board under Urban Hanover and could pay something decent. We're going to move on to race number 8, which is the $357,000 Three Diamonds for 2-year-old filly Pacers. And in this race, we have a overwhelming horse that's I made 4 to 5, but I think this one's almost a lock to be 2 to 5.
Yeah, even from post 10. Yeah, I mean, she's just dominated. Much like Urban Hanover's dominated recently. Lua Deepa has just been a killer as a 2-year-old filly. And you talk about horses peaking. I think she's just getting better and maybe has more to offer. So I'm not going to play around this race. I think I'm keying Lua Deepa on my ticket. I just think that Ronnie Wren, obviously, it's not the easiest trip from the 10 hole, but she's got the speed to get off the gate, and she has the respect, to be released to the front or to be find a tuck by someone who wants to maybe follow her at some point. So yeah, I'm not gonna play around. I'm gonna key her.
Along with 5 other horses in the race, she comes out of the Breeders' Crown. We're going to take a look at the Breeders' Crown victory by her. And you know what? She does what she always does, which is drift out a little bit on the stretch. But the thing is, she's always up by 3-4 lengths, so it doesn't really matter if she drifts out, Matt.
Yeah, I guess it doesn't matter if you're well clear and the driver just wants to let her do her thing, as long as she is going forward. Yeah, what else can you say about this race? I mean, basically wrapped up here, and funny, she kind of drifted back into about the 2 paths that she finishes the race. But yeah, I mean, the competition was no match for her, and I think there'll be no match tonight, even with the post 10 handicap, so to speak.
That was She's a Bulldog, who's in this race, coming up the inside for second, and Seaside Shuffle on the outside was third. So all 3 of the top 3 from the Breeders' Crown in this race. If I'm gonna, listen, I'm keying Lua Deepa like you are, but if I'm throwing in a horse underneath, I would take a shot for second with Darlin's Angel, who's a horse that made a couple of moves last time, and tired, but looks like a horse that's coming into her own right now. Looks like she has a little bit of talent, and she only has 6 starts in the year, which is tied for the least amount in the field. Maybe a little bit fresher than some of the other horses who've been tackling Grand Circuit foes all year, where she has been taking it easy.
Yeah, she won the. I'm sorry, she was third in the kindergarten final, right over the Meadowlands surface, and you know what? Her trainer Juan Cano is certainly kind of burst on the scene this season. And it's interesting that her regular catch driver is Lauren Tritton, who is listed to drive here. And she's proven to be more than capable in the Meadowlands Drivers Colony. So it's not like there's any negative connotation with her as a driver. She's more than capable, and obviously she gets along with this horse. And yeah, I mean, she'll be, I figure, double digits in what is a spread type race underneath Lua Deepa.
Yeah, Lauren's winning well over 20% of her races at the Meadowlands, which is pretty cool. We're going to move on to race number 9, which is the Governor's Cup final for 2-year-old colts, going for $334,000. And I thought this is a very competitive and interesting race, in my opinion. You got to make some horse the favorite, and I elected to go with Fragment, or his last win in the Matron. I just want to go right into that. We're going to take a look at that replay first of his Matron win. He's going to end up sitting in the pocket here, which some people can say, oh yeah, he had a perfect trip, but it really wasn't so much the trip, Matt, as how he just exploded away from the rest of the horses.
Yeah, if you looked up, if you looked up the definition of pocket rocket, you will see Fragment. I mean, look at this. Look at him just pace away from the field there. That's it's not often you tip inside into, I guess, what you could call the passing lane, even though there was plenty of lanes there, and draw away, win by almost 4 lengths. And like, she went from the pocket to like in front by 3 lengths in like a blink of an eye. And it's not like an aberration, like it's a surprise that race came out of nowhere. I mean, he was a Breeders' Crown finalist, saddled with post 10, so went off a long price and raced fine in that effort, I think. And yeah, I think you're. It's safe to say that he's a worthy morning line favorite. I won't argue with you there. We'll see what the official track morning line is. I'm sure you can't wait to compare. Um, yeah, I think it's hard not to like Fragment off that race. It's hard to not uh, like I mentioned with Ronnie Wren earlier. How about a magical season by Jason Bartlett? And then there's Per Engblom, who's been one of the he's the leading trainer at Yonkers, and they team up for about I don't know 100% between the two of them. So yeah, I like him from this spot. He's definitely my top pick, but he's not my key because I find the two outside horses, the 9 and the 10, both Burke horses, both interesting here, and one or both of them is going to be forwardly placed and could be looking at a very live trip.
My top pick is actually You Brute. You know, I use Fragment on my ticket, but You Brute's my top pick. I just feel like this is a really talented horse that just hasn't had the opportunity to show it in some of these races. The Breeders' Crown Final had post 9, you know, versus Bojangles, which is like, you know, a creature from outer space, kind of like just otherworldly. And the start before that was kind of locked in the pocket a little behind Bojangles, and I don't really think he got the true chance to stretch his legs, and you know, and I think he's definitely going to be firing out here. And that kind of leads me to some of the other horses that I'm throwing on my ticket here. You know, because I think the 9 is going to leave and the 10 is going to leave. I think Signal Caller is proven when he can get a setup. You know, he can sprint home better than just about anyone. You know, he's you know, he has that 48-4 on his credit there, but he also shows a 25-2 final quarter at the Meadowlands in September, which is impressive. And Gentleman's Club, who really no one basically has heard of, but all of a sudden has figured something out in his last couple of starts for trainer Aaron Lambert. And you know what? If he can produce anything close to the mile he produced last week here, you know, I think he could be competitive off the right trip.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice seeing Ohio bred down by the seaside, but yeah, this horse certainly qualifies under, needs to prove it. But yeah, she showed he showed that plenty of class and manners with that very professional win, but it was against overnights. And like you said, he's a horse that really probably nobody's heard of. There's a scenario for many horses here to work out, a live trip in what could be a live flow, because as we mentioned, if the two outside horses are leaving, and then you have inside horses wanting to move early to not get trapped in, maybe we see some sort of like the old Meadowlands shuffle type race, where there's a live flow on the outside. And then a horse like Signal Caller or like Show Me Your Ace with Dave Miller for Chris Ryder, or even I kind of looked at the one Apocalypse Blue Chip, and he might get shuffled early with Joe Bongiorno, but then slide out and be in a flow. But I'm gonna use 3 horses here, and I do like Fragment. I do think here you will. All he needs is some semblance of a trip and not to have traffic. And I think he's capable of exploding like he did last time. And I'm going to use the 2 Burke horses because one of the 2 is going to have a live trip here also.
Why don't we take a look at our tickets for the pick 4? $50,000 guaranteed, begins in race number 6. And you can see my ticket's just a $4 ticket for 50 cents. Obviously, you could play it more times. And quite frankly, if I look at this morning line, the official morning line, and Fragment's something like 6-5, I might just toss him off the ticket and take a shot beating him, because I certainly don't think he should be a heavy favorite in this spot, but I think he's a horse that has a shot. So $4 for 50 cents. You could play it, I don't know, like for $3 tickets, what, $24? That's not too bad.
$3. $3, 6 times, 50 cents.
You got to do the math in your head quickly, man.
I know. I'm so used to dollar basis. So my ticket is also cheap for $6 or $12 for $1. You can see, obviously, we're similar in races 6 and 8. We both spread in race 9, but the difference is, I think if this ticket has Irvin Hanover on and Irvin Hanover wins, the ticket's paying nothing. So that's where I'm taking my stand and trying to beat, a heavy favorite with horses that are obviously capable. So we're similar, but not similar. But for $6, yeah, it could be played, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, and be okay if I can get Coach's Corner Ken Hanover home.
Yep, there's no doubt about it. Listen, if Matt's ticket hits, you're going to win more money than if my ticket hits. That goes without saying, with Irvin Hanover's single there. But I think sometimes you have to take what they give you, and that's what I was doing here. And what we're giving you is free PPs. So check out the QR code on your screen and click there, and you can get free PPs for the entire 14 race card. Post time is 6:22. Guaranteed $50,000 pick four starting in race 6 and 10. There's 8 stakes races on the card. Great night of action at the Meadowlands on Saturday. Good luck.